Most of us are aware of foster care and the need for foster parents, but how often do we consider what happens to foster kids when they age out, when they no longer have a place to call home? And what about the other young adults who find themselves homeless due to lack of family support? In this episode, I interview Adrean Stinnett, the founder and executive director of J127 Ministry in Durant, Oklahoma. We'll learn how this one woman mobilized a community where nobody knew her to support young women ages 18 to 23 who've aged out of the foster care system by providing them with a place they can call home, with long-term mentors to teach life skills, and with job opportunities at local businesses so they gain work experience and eventually thrive out on their own. We'll hear how she took her vision from concept to reality in less than 3 years and kept the organization debt-free. I can't wait for you to meet Adrean Stinnett, hear her story, and be reminded once again that one person really can make a difference in this world. Hey, have you ever wished you could hear some good news for a change? Well, I might have just what you've been hoping for. Welcome to Your Nonprofit Life, where we remove our rose-colored glasses and explore what leaders are actually doing to move their nonprofits from messy to thriving without burning out in the process. I'm Laura Zelke, Director of Member Experience for the Nonprofit Leadership Lab. Join me each week to explore the ups, downs, and whoopsie daisies of your nonprofit life. Let's get started. Well, Adrean, welcome. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to interview you today for this podcast. And I was just wondering, what have you been up to this morning?
Well, it's definitely been a busy morning. Today is our first official day of opening our first home, and we were moving in the young lady, so we had to go and help her get some of the few belongings that she had and get it loaded up and helping her walk through the door today into her new room.
Wow. Now, how did that make you feel to, and we're going to backtrack. So we're starting in the middle of your story with today is the first day that you've got somebody moving in, and we are going to go back and backtrack that. But before we get into the history and how it all got there, how did it feel for you today, going and helping her pick up the few belongings that she had and then coming into the new home?
For me, it felt like a sense of accomplishment, the things that we've been working on over the last 3 years, getting us to today. And the way, I described it to this young lady this morning as we're gathering, imagine, if you will, probably one of the dirtiest places you've ever been in. And knowing that you're bringing her out of that into somewhere that is clean, cozy, and her own. And the way I described it to her was, I asked her, I said, do you know what love looks like? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, do you know what love looks like? And I said, or at least describe what love is to you. And she's like, well, I really don't know. And there was 3 of us standing there. And I said, this is love, what we're doing right here. And so for me, that's what it's all about, is to love these young ladies where they're at. And because love has the capability to heal. And so we were able just to see all of the work that we've done over the last 3 years in action in a different way, in a real way that is going to affect a young lady.
Right. So with that as the intro, tell me what your organization does and the name of your organization. Give me your elevator pitch.
Okay. J127 comes from James 127, taking care of the widows and the orphans. And we just built our first home for young ladies that are aging out of the foster care system or who find themselves homeless due to lack of family support. And our age is between the ages of 18 and 23.
Okay. And this is something you said you've been working on this for 3 years. And this morning you just moved in your first new resident.
Yes.
So how did you get an idea like that? Has this been a lifelong dream of yours? Because you're the founder of this organization, right?
Yes, I'm the one who is crazy enough to say, yeah, I'll do it. That's what I always tell everybody. So I first had the vision to do this. I can actually tell you, July of 2009. And I'm one of those that like to journal. And I was just journaling some things with my faith and how I believe. And I was just taking that time and just kind of seeking direction in my life. So I've actually had this vision since about July of 2009. And because of my faith, I was just seeking where I needed to go in life, what direction in my next step. I just finished college and I started writing down different things. And I have worked with kids involved in gangs. And a lot of those young people had been in the foster care system. So I ended up opening my home to young teen girls. A lot of them, once
That's
they
brave.
It was, yes. Yeah, I definitely learned a lot, but we had a lot of good times. And it was from there that I learned what was happening when these young ladies were aging out and they were going back into the same situations. Or I would be getting a phone call that they were in jail or they would end up pregnant. So it was out of that I started with some of the girls that were in my home that we developed basically what we're doing at J127 for my home. We just did it on a smaller scale to prepare them for life and where they could have the tools.
So what is that when you say prepare them for life? Like, what is that about?
So our goal is to break that cycle of poverty and help them to not repeat the same thing. Statistics show that a young lady that ages out of foster care, and then when she has a child, that child ends up in foster care, and it's just a generational cycle. And so our goal, when they come in, we work with them in 5 main areas. We are a faith-based organization, so we definitely help them understand who they were created to be. We also work with them with their life skills and give them the tools that they need. We work with them with their education whenever they're here because we know an education will help them break that cycle of poverty. And then we also pair them up with 3 life mentors to give them a support system. I mean, me at 39 years old, I still have people I call, I still have mentors in my life. And then we also focus on them giving back to the community. And they have to give at least 4 hours back in the community. And that helps them discover new skills, meet different people. And you feel good when you give back. A lot of us that are in the nonprofit, that's what we do. And so we allow them that opportunity to give back into the community.
And so when you say, is it 4 hours a week or 4 hours a month that they give back?
Yeah, we ask them to give back 4 hours a month. And that's part of them going through the phase and everything. And we kind of keep track and they let us know. And they get to choose where. And we help them. Because our goal is to transition. We are a true transitional house. So we want them to be able to function outside when they get their own place.
Right.
So, I mean, it definitely is coming alongside of them. We're not here to do anything for them, but we're to come alongside them and help them pursue their goals and their desires and the things they want because they have them too.
Yeah. And helping them really discover that they do have some say in their future.
Absolutely.
For sure. And so let me ask you this, because you said you've only been around for 3 years and you have a house. Now, I have been following you on Instagram, probably, and I guess you and I were talking about this the other day. I was like, well, you've been in the lab for a while. So you've been a 501c3 for just a couple years, right?
Yes.
When did you become a 501c3?
We actually got our paper in the mail on August of 2017. I went and looked. And August of 2017 is whenever we became a 501c3.
Okay. And then you joined the lab like the couple months after that, I think.
I think it was a little before.
Oh, before?
I think I joined in like February. Dates get everywhere.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've been with the Nonprofit Leadership Lab for practically the whole journey of this nonprofit. So you said you had the girls living with you in your home when you were doing work with gangs. And so are you in the same location? Like this is still part of that, or is this something completely different?
It's something completely different. At that time, I was actually in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I was very content. I loved it there. But I actually moved back to my hometown of Durant, Oklahoma to take care of my grandmother who became a widow. And so I moved back here and I was just sharing with people about this dream that I had. And actually, let me kind of backtrack a little bit. When I was in Arkansas, we had a family actually donate 25 acres to start J127 there. Yes.
In Arkansas?
In Arkansas, and it was absolutely beautiful. It had a river running through it. It had everything I could possibly dream of. And I remember having to sit down with them and turn that down because I did not feel that was what I was supposed to do at that time. Everybody was a little upset with me, but then it was probably about 4 months later that my grandfather passed away, and I had to move back to my hometown of Durant, Oklahoma, to take care of my grandmother who was on dialysis and needed someone in there.
Sure.
And so, I'm single, have no kids. So guess who?
Yeah.
And so when I moved back to my hometown that I had been away for 13 years, and of course it was in me no matter where I was at, and I would talk to people, and I had a really good friend, Matt Gregory, and we would always go to their house for Bible study and things like that. And finally one night he's like, when are you going to stop talking about it and actually do it? And so he kind of gave me a good kick in the butt and set some dates for me. He's a businessman, and set some dates and said, you need to have your story ready for me. And I would sit with them every Sunday for an hour. And he helped me with ideas, putting things together. He had set on boards how to form a board. And then it wasn't long after that is when I came across the lab. Mm-hmm. And from there, I started watching the courses. And I tell you what, that has helped me so much. Even though I've worked in nonprofit, I just never had things explained in that way that the lab teaches. And I would definitely say it has been part of the reason we've been successful because I've applied it.
Well, I have to say, for me personally, I don't think I could be part of it if I know I couldn't be part of it if I didn't hear stories like yours all the time. Yeah, every day we hear from somebody who's done something and applied what they've learned, and we see it. And I think so many times people get very hopeless about the situations that they're in with their nonprofit. They don't feel like they can turn it around. And we've seen it. So you're kind of in a different position. Joan's big thing is nonprofits are messy, and we kind of help people take their organizations from messy to thriving. But you kind of came in really early, like just barely being a 501c3 or having your paperwork turned in. And so you've been kind of setting yourself up based on the mentorships and the experience that you've had, and also the courses and the resources that we have in the lab. And what I was saying earlier, I've been following your journey on your Instagram, and I have watched you raise money and build this beautiful home. And now you're moving somebody in. And so did you have to take out loans for that? Or are you in debt? Like, what's your situation looking like right now?
From the very beginning, whenever I was forming the board, and the first meeting I had with them and sharing with them, and I said, one of the things, as I know, is that we will never go into debt. Like I said, I've worked with nonprofits. I've been with some good nonprofits, and I've been with some that not so good. And one of the things I learned is whenever you have a lot of debt, that takes away from your actual mission. So I said, if it takes us 3 years, which it did, to build this home debt free, then that's what we need to do. And so we actually have around a 13,000 square foot resource center that we completely renovated and that we have no debt on. It cost us about $600 to operate out of that building. And then we have a 5,200 square foot home that was completely paid for with cash and volunteer and a lot of sweat from us.
Right.
We have no overhead with that.
I want you to talk to me about how you did that. How did you accomplish that? I believe you had some donations along the way. And I also know that you mentioned a really important lunch meeting that you had. And so I'd love for you to tell the listeners about how you got from this idea in your head to do this community organization, this service that you're doing, out of your head into an actual house and a resource center and no debt. How'd you do that?
Slowly, and I wish I could say I had wrote it all out, but I was very reactive, and I learned no matter how much I had a plan, my plan kind of went out the window early on. But one of the things that we knew coming into this, we're from a smaller community, and nonprofits have a bad name in our community. There's been some that have tried to start up. Money has been misused. Quite a few of them they never made it there. And so everybody was kind of leery. Oh, here's another nonprofit. No one knew who Adrean Stinnett was. And so one of the things that I did is I put some people that had a good reputation and a name here in our community. And I approached them about sitting on my board. And I also knew they had a heart for what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped in, getting them to spread the word out. And then the next step was I needed to go talk to a few individuals that had some pull in our community. And I remember watching, I don't remember the title of it, but it was about making an ask over lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the one about the chicken Caesar salad. And
Yep.
so I remember watching that, and it also helped me build the confidence. And so after watching that, I went and I took my board president with me, and we sat down with a lady and we talked to her and asked for $120,000 is what we asked her for.
Wow.
And she said no at first, but I ended up building a relationship with her after that lunch. And then about 6 months later, she ended up coming back, and her group is the one that actually paid for our resource center to get completely renovated.
Wow.
And so it all started there. And then from there, we spent that first year building awareness and doing community events at different places,
Mm-hmm.
just to see and kind of test out our community. Would they be interested in something like this? Would they be interested in supporting it? And one of the things we found out was people weren't even aware of the problem. So we just really let them know these are the issues and this is why we're doing it. And this is how we can actually meet the need. And I say it all the time, together we're the solution to a solvable problem. And so we did for a year, we did that. And we would have anywhere from 40 to 50 people at these community meetings that we did over a year. And we did some big, we just invited some key people. And so when we got ready to actually start fundraising, we approached a business and they actually gave us $100,000 matching grant. And all we did is just share with them the vision and had built a relationship. And they actually gave that. And all these people had learned about J127, learned about the need. So when it came time to ask them to match that $100,000, it was matched within like 5 or 6 months.
I just think that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, what did it feel like when you were at lunch with that first donor, with your board chair, and you made that huge ask and she said no?
It was a little disappointing
Mm-hmm.
because I hate asking for money.
Right. Not a lot of people enjoy it.
No, that is
yeah.
my least favorite part about starting a nonprofit is having to raise a lot of money.
Right.
I mean, we've raised in the last 2 years, raised close to about $700,000.
Holy
And
wow.
that's in property and in resources. I call it cash because that's what it is. That first ask, I think it was good for me and that I heard a no because it gets easier after that. And so it was hard. And obviously I questioned myself. Am I really the person to do this? I don't know what I'm doing. I think I watched more and more of the lab to learn with it and everything.
The reason I ask is because I think that that's how you really know when you have that fire in your belly to do something, and you can go make a huge ask like that and have somebody say no, and it doesn't crush your dreams. Like, it's a gut punch for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we want the yes, but like you said, you didn't let it crush you. Sure, everybody would, right? You go into, should I do this? Am I the right person? But then it's like, yeah, actually I am. And you didn't give up on her. You built that relationship with her to the point that, did she come back and approach you about the community center? Or how did you get someone who originally said no to then come back around and basically fund renovating a community center for your use?
Mm-hmm. I would have to say it was the relationship that I built with her. Even though she said no, I knew what this woman was capable of, her connections. And the more I got to know her, I honestly wanted to be around her and to learn from her. She had started multiple things here in our community. And so I would just call her and ask her questions or suggestions, things like that, just to build that relationship. Then she would start calling me and say, hey, do you want to go meet so-and-so with me? Or I'm going over here. And so through that, I actually met Rhonda Richards, who was starting a widow's ministry. And she was looking for a building. And we were in the process of negotiating, talking, building relationships with the people that own the place where we're at now. They were donating the building in 4 acres. And so I told Rhonda, I said, hey, don't go buy anything. We'll wait about a month. I think I have something that we can do together. And so once we were given this building, I went back to her that I'd met through this lady that, ended up giving us the $120,000. And I said, hey, would you want to be in the same building with us? And we'll split everything right down the middle. I won't make y'all pay rent. God gave it to us. We want to share it. And we'll split everything right down the middle. And because we did that, the lady that I had sat down with 6 months ago couldn't believe that we would do that. And so she went and talked to 4 other individuals, and those 5 individuals are the ones that gave the $120,000 because of our partnership and showing that we were really about our community and not just about ourselves.
So let me understand this. You're working with girls who are aging out of the foster care system. But how does that tie in with widows? I'm not quite following that.
Well, J127 is taking care of the orphans and the widows. And so it's kind of neat how it just all meshed together. But our goal from the very beginning and part of the plan that, I had in one of my 50 binders was to actually have widows work with our young girls, because those are one of the 2 loneliest groups. And we wanted to pair them together. So our widows will actually be one of the mentors for our girls. They actually make quilts for the young ladies. I mean, they're preparing too for them to be here. They will help teach them to cook or to sew and just to build those relationships. And the girls can go to their homes or take them to the grocery store if they need some errands. And so we're just bridging that gap.
So they're going to be able to teach them how to cook or do other hobbies, maybe those are those life skills that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
That's part of your mission.
Yeah, just to teach them. The way we designed our home, I wrote down everything that I wanted to take place in that room. And that is how I was able to design it. And so our kitchen and our dining room are extra big. We wanted to be able to have about 18 people at a time because we can have up to 10 girls living there and then with their mentors. And we wanted to make sure everybody have room where they can sit down at the table and eat dinner, and how to invite people into your home. And just to build those relationships, a lot of relationships get built at a dinner table or when you're cooking. And so they will actually come in and teach them how to cook. The basics, I even learned things from them too. And I love
sure. Yeah.
Just some of the basic skills that a lot of us learn in our homes. But so many kids, when they're in the foster care system, they have, with the trauma or been moved to multiple homes, they don't pick up on those skills. It's kind of like the young lady that we just moved in today. And she has actually, I have built a relationship with her over the last 6 months. So she's actually had her hands in helping build this with us. And one day we had a volunteer was talking about putting pillowcases on. And she finally said, I really don't know what you're talking about, because we were having to put a cover on it and then a pillowcase and fluff it and all that. And she's like, I really don't know how. And so it's even simple things like putting pillowcases on, and she's like, a lot of times my bed was done. They didn't want me to mess with that stuff. So we're just teaching them those basic things, or how to clean, how you stay on top of it, how to schedule a doctor's appointment, just those basic everyday skills that a lot of times we take for granted. And with the widows coming in, they'll be able to teach them and just sit with them and learn and just talk with them. And it's just a neat thing to actually watch.
Right. It sounds like a beautiful thing. And I love the fact that it's something that you're really trying to train them. This isn't a permanent place. The relationships, I'm sure, will last far beyond their time in your home, but that this is a transition to get them ready to be out on their own, like you're bridging a gap. So when you have this ministry, the widows mentoring the girls, is that basically they're the main teachers of all the life skills and everything?
So what we'll do with our life skill program is, again, those community meetings that I was talking that we did that first year.
Yeah.
So I collected everybody's information at those meetings and find out what are they interested in, where are their gifts and their talents. One of my skills is I'm a developer. And
Okay.
I love pulling out from other people what they're good at and getting them involved. People say all the time, if you're around Adrian, you're going to end up working or doing something. And so I've been collecting all these people that I talk to, getting their information, getting their names, finding out what they like to do. And so our life skill program, because the only way this program is going to work is if our community is willing to get involved. We can't hire enough people to do all of our life skill programs. And so what we've done is we've opened a calendar. We have a set calendar for the year, and people from the community will plug into those dates when they can, because there'll be a life skill once a week. And they can either come to the home and do a life skill. We have our resource center, or if it needs to be something done out in the community. So there will be different people that say, maybe we have one of our local banks, they've partnered with us and they're going to be helping teaching budgeting, how to open up a checking and a savings, how money works, that money is just a tool. And so they'll be doing that. And then we have another group of ladies that love teaching like on organization and how you organize things. So there's going to be all different kinds of things. We even have men, I've talked to men and I'm like, we need you involved so they can see that there's things, healthy relationships between their spouse.
There are
and
good
them.
men. Yeah.
Yes.
There are good men out there.
That
yeah.
there are, and, teaching them how to change a tire, how to check your oil, a lot of those things that usually dad, sometimes mom teaches us, and how to just live life is what people are going to be teaching them. Some of those basic skills, how to apply for insurance or how to apply for school. All those are just life skills. And there's so many opportunities and people that are doing things in our community. We don't want to reinvent the wheel on anything. So if there's people already doing it, we're plugging our girls into what they're already doing.
Yeah.
And so even with that, during that first year, we made sure that there was nobody doing what we're doing, because if they were, we were going to just join in with them. No sense of recreating it. But
Sure.
there was nothing like this in our area. The closest was in the city, which is about 2 hours. And so our goal is to just wrap the community into what we're doing and allow them to continue to do their mission too. So that's definitely our goal. Is we're very community focused.
Yeah, I just think it's a beautiful model, and what a really neat opportunity for the girls in your home to be able to meet so many different community leaders as well. And so let me ask you about this, because you're basically housing girls who are aging out, but it seems like some of this stuff could be learned before you age out. Are you doing anything with people who are younger than 18 in the foster care system to where they're starting to learn some of these skills before they get to that age? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually received a grant just for that. So kids that are 15 to 23, and we'll have them in separate classes, but they that don't live in the home, we actually have life skill classes. The same thing. They can go through the life skill classes. They'll be separate from the young ladies that are living in our home. But in our resource center, they will be able to come to these classes and learn the same thing, because not all of them are going to want to live in the home, or they need to, or
Right.
want to, for that matter of fact. And
Right.
so if we can even get to them before they age out, so they have the skills that they need, that they can transition into, whether it's getting their own place or into college, and also build that support system with them. And we will pair them up with just one mentor, but those mentors are going to be a little bit different. We will ask just for 4 hours a month that they will invest in our people that aren't living in the home. But our young ladies, we're looking for life mentors. So we're going to have 2 different types of mentors that will be working with our young people.
What do you mean a life mentor?
So whenever we pair our young ladies, we're going to pair them up with 3 mentors. And this is the way I describe it. Someone their age, like a sister, someone a mom's age, and then a grandma. And that's where the widows come in. So you have different stages of life. And our mentors will only be paired up with one girl. And our goal is to bring them into their life. Put an extra chair at your kitchen table for them because a lot of them don't have places to go for the holidays, people to celebrate their birthdays with, or different things that they achieve. And we'll train our mentors, and we have someone that will oversee that. All of our mentors will be trained, and we'll work with our mentors because this is hard work. And we'll give our mentors the training that they need over every quarter. They'll get the training. They'll have a support system themselves on how to deal with certain situations that they come up with whenever they're working with our young ladies. But that is our goal, that they will stay with this girl from here on out. So it's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah, it is a big commitment. And I'm sure that you'll have different good times and different challenges, but that's all part of the mentoring as well, right?
Yes.
Is sticking with people even when you have speed bumps in the relationship or whatnot. So is all of this theoretical? It's a big experiment, or have you seen success with this?
So I would say I definitely have seen success just with doing it on a smaller scale in my own home with my young ladies. I am actually still connected with the majority of them. And finally, I love it. As they get a little older, I get calls. Thank you, Miss Adrian. Thank you for teaching me to budget, or thank you for pushing me or grounding me. And so, yes, I know it works. If we're consistent with them and we hang in there with them through the attitudes, through them wanting to give up and all those things, and just continue to love them. And then just working in nonprofit and with the young people that I worked with that were involved in the gangs. And one of the things that when I was in Little Rock, I actually developed the mentoring program there that I was with. We received a $500,000 grant over 3 years, and we developed that program. And so I'm taking little pieces of that too, that we're doing here. And we did the life skills classes with the young people, and we truly saw a difference. And then we also had them giving back 4 hours a month in different ways in our community. And we saw how it transformed them. It built their confidence. So have I seen it with our girls? No, because our first one just moved in today.
Right.
But I definitely have seen it and implemented some of these things. Now, working with the widows and the life mentors, that's a little different. But I have done it myself, and some of the people that are helping, that have come along, they also have done it. So we know there's people out there that are willing to do the way that we've set it up and to be those life mentors.
Right. And I knew that. I knew that because you told me the other day. I just wanted to make sure that we were able to bring that out in the podcast. So, Adrian, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in the last 3 years, getting from moving to a small community, trying to get everybody on board with your nonprofit, getting the funding, doing all the things? I'm sure it hasn't come without its challenges. What would you say has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge by far has definitely carrying the burden of something this massive. So this is just a little bit of the vision that we have for this. And I've been in leadership, I've worked in nonprofit and everything, but this was a whole new ballgame that I don't even think I fully understood, having to start something just from a drawing on a piece of paper of what I thought all of this was going to look like. And definitely for me personally, I've never dealt with anxiety until I started doing this. And that first year, I really thought, I was like, I think I'm going crazy. Just with the anxiety. And I felt like people are going to find out that I didn't really know what I was even doing. I was just so reacting to everything.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, definitely. I was like, they're going to find out. And so just learning, to trust the process of it, trusting even myself that everything that I had done up to this point had given me the tools that I needed to actually implement the things that we were doing. And also learning to set boundaries, not to overwork. I'm a doer. And so learning to really set some boundaries and having some hobbies and stuff still on the side. But one of the things that I ended up doing was getting some mentors in my life that were just very positive, that were not yes people, and that would be very honest with me and just sometimes just say, hey, you just need to stop or sit down. Not everybody has the same passion as you have. And so that really helped me in allowing them to give me some new perspective on things, and just surrounding myself with people that also had a heart for this, and not putting an expectation on anybody or anything. Once I kind of push that to aside and just let it naturally flow, that really helped me calm down as well during the process of it. And it was okay to fail.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, I did, and I will continue to fail, but what am I learning from that?
Right.
And I really got to the point, and I would have to tell myself this: if it fails, if it does not work, it's not because you did not try. And I would tell myself that often, because I was just, oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm taking their money, or, that I'm not. It was just crazy, the thoughts. For me, that was definitely my biggest challenge, was myself, honestly.
It's interesting that we have this word failure in our vocabulary, because that's how we learn. Mm-hmm. It is how we grow as humans. It's something that has really come to the forefront a lot. And I know you said you don't have kids, but you're mentoring the girls. And the thing is, when parents protect their children from failure, it actually doesn't help them. It has the opposite effect. And I wish we had a different word for it, because it's just finding a way that didn't work. Mm-hmm. It's not a failure. It's more, you just haven't found the way that it will work yet. It's part of the learning and growing that we do as just humans. It's part of how we become better. And you said you're a developer. Was that from StrengthsFinder?
Yes.
I was wondering, you're like, I'm a developer. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I did. I went to Ohio with my other job, and we spent a whole week there learning my strengths. So adaptability and developer are two of my strongest strengths.
Wow. I will have to share this with my husband, because he has developer and adaptability as well. I'm a maximizer and achiever and learner. So I love the StrengthsFinder. I will put a link to that in the show notes page, because I think it's really, really helpful to know what your strengths are. I also know that your strengths can be your weaknesses. So the adaptability can also backfire on you sometimes.
That would be me. Absolutely. It can kind of get you where you're all over the place.
Yeah.
And everything. But it definitely helped me in this process. And being that way, knowing it's okay to redo something, or if it doesn't work out the way that I thought. My motto lately, because I actually was the contractor on this home. Never done that before.
Wow.
And it's just the way that it fell.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Think it was a good learning tool for me. I also have a new understanding with these young ladies, because I've always done stuff that I somewhat had a knowledge of, or I've had the training for. This was the first time I ever had to do something that I had no knowledge of, no training or anything. And these girls coming in, we're asking them to do things that they have no training in, no knowledge of, and they're going to want to quit just like I wanted to quit. I mean, they're going to have those nights where they're just crying and bawling, and they don't know how to handle what to do, because it seems overwhelming. And for me, I feel like, because I'm going through that process and experiencing those things, I'm going to have a new way to even mentor them, and to also have that compassion for them that I didn't have 3 years ago. So for me, even that learning process, there's things that I took away that I can see is going to make our organization better.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Well, it's just really thrilling and inspiring to hear you talk about just the whole process. So, Adrian, if people want to learn more about J127 and what all you're doing, or connect with you, what would be the preferred way for them to do that?
The best way is to go to our website at j127ministry.com. And you can look on there and find out a little bit about us. And then you can also send me an email. I love sharing, talking about this.
Sure. I could see the potential for something like this to be replicated in other areas. And so it's going to be really exciting to kind of watch how this develops. And I'm glad you're a journal person, that you can be documenting what all you're doing and the decisions that you're making about bringing in the community and the lessons learned along the way. I just think that there's so much potential for a program like this, and you're changing lives. and in changing the lives. And especially, I'm a little partial to women's lives because we know that women really drive the wealth in the community as far as when you lift. I'm a huge fan of Melinda Gates's book, The Power of Lift, and her explanation of what it does when you elevate women in a community and how it really has the ripple effects because the women are the moms too, and how it just has such ripple effect of goodness. And I'm just excited. I would also recommend, for people who want to follow the journey is just to follow your Instagram or social media because you guys are always posting really interesting things that are going on. And I hope that you'll continue to do that now that the building project's over and all of that, but you're going to have these great community resource trainings and things like that going on. So I'm excited to watch what's next for you. Congratulations on your official first resident.
Yay.
That's really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I got a little teary-eyed last night. I couldn't sleep. Just thinking. Yeah.
I bet, I think it's probably like a dream for you and for the young lady who moved in, and just to see this thing is actually happening. It's getting off the ground. And you did it in the right place. And I'm sure those 25 acres in Little Rock are going where they need to go.
Yeah.
I just feel like sometimes we get spread out for different reasons, and you're at the right place at the right time with the right people and the right mission. And I just want to encourage you to embrace the process. Yeah. And when the hard times come, know that you have a whole group of people rooting for you, behind you, supporting you. And thank you for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for letting me chat with you.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. So I'll see you in the village.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. To access the show notes or share feedback on this podcast and link over to our socials, visit our website at yournonprofitlife.com. That's yournonprofitlife.com. And hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you're going to love The Village. It's our exclusive online community where we take what we're learning in the Nonprofit Leadership Lab and apply it. We take it to the next level with live Q&As, boot camps, online book clubs, and legit support from experts committed to helping you extend your nonprofit life. By the way, since we're just getting started, it would mean the world to us if you'd subscribe to the podcast and leave a great review on iTunes. The reviews will help us get the podcast in front of more people as we try to take the whole sector from messy to thriving. See you next time.